Hey everybody, we're here on a Rocky Mountain with a Rocky Mountain for the 2025 e-bike Lite shootout with our guest tester who won the trip. What's your name?
Patrick. Heck yeah.
Patrick, heck yeah. We're gonna talk about this bike.
Dude, my bad. I didn't know. Fuck.
So before we dive into the Instinct Powerplay C90, we'd like to take a moment and thank the sponsors who made this 13 bike shootout series possible. We have outfitted all of the bikes with an official test tire. We have the Gravity Radial tires in the Gravity casing with the Albert out back and a Magic Mary up front.
And we've partnered with Endura for our kits, keeping us cool and warm out on the trails, as well as Giro, keeping our feet glued to the pedals, and knee pads as well.
We are also back in Klamath Falls, Oregon, riding some of our favorite trails in the region. So thanks to Discover Klamath and the Running Y Resort for hosting us once again. So with that out of the way, Patrick is our guest tester. As I mentioned earlier, he's one of our members in our members community. And we have been trying to, for the last 2 shootouts, invite one lucky member to be our guest participant. What have you thought about this process so far?
It's interesting to see kind of behind the scenes of everything, and also just a crazy experience getting to test all these bikes back to back. It's been very special.
So in an effort to keep these reviews as short as possible, because they're already going to be long, we're just going to put some of the key geo numbers up here and link to theloamwolf.com, where we will have full written reviews and a lot more numbers for you to check out. Instead, we will focus on the stuff you can't go read on a website, which is how the bike performed and felt on the trail. So Cole, what size did we pick, and what are the geo stands for you?
We have a size large. The reach on our size large is 480 millimeters paired with a 450 mil chainstay, 632 mil stack, and a 64-degree head angle, and that is in our current Ride 4 setting. I will say this does feel like one of these smaller, more compact bikes, even given that 480 mil reach, which is not a bad thing for this bike at all.
Yeah, I agree. It absolutely makes this bike fun and playful. So Cole, lead it away here with drive unit, battery, power.
Yeah, so the Rocky is one unique bike we have on test, and is the only one featuring the Dyname motor, which has 75 Newton meters of torque and 700 watts of peak power, paired with a 480 watt-hour battery. With all those power figures does come some more power drain than some other bikes on test. Our 190, 195 pound test rider for our 13-mile loop and 1,300 feet of elevation gain consumed 292 watt-hours, or 62% of total battery life.
And how does that stack up to some of the other batteries in terms of watt-hours consumed?
Watt-hours consumed, it's between, it's not definitely not the highest. It's kind of middle of the pack, and I think what surprised me the most was the actual lap time. The minute 3 time versus like the Ari on the Fazua was actually faster, which was really interesting to me.
That Ari is a very fast bike though. Yes. So yeah, moving in, actually speaking of speed, I will say that this bike and drive unit are pretty peppy and powerful. Do you want to talk about the climbing on this thing a little bit?
Just climbed it up the flow trail that we've been climbing early morning, and definitely noticed a big difference in the power of the motor there compared to the TQ, which I pedaled up yesterday on the Yeti. There was a few sections yesterday I had to walk just because it was a little steep with some rocks, and today I was able to just blast right up in this Ludacris mode here. So I definitely noticed that a lot. I rode this yesterday as my last run as well, and it helped me kind of get off the road when I was struggling a little bit with the legs. This motor definitely allowed me to get up, and this bike allowed me to get up some of the steeper rock stuff that I struggled on before with some of the lower motors. So that definitely helped me keep up with everyone and get through everything.
And your personal bike is a Trek Fuel Plus, which is a TQ bike, correct?
Correct, yep.
How would you rate this compared to the TQ?
A lot more power, definitely more power, and it's got, when you put it in Ludacris mode, it'll help you get over some other stuff that I struggled on with the TQ bikes to get up.
Okay.
It definitely has a noticeable amount more of grunt, and kind of makes you aim for those ledgy climbs, being able to really get to the top of it, and that last little bit where you're like kind of on that balance point, just enough to get you over the edge.
And I absolutely agree, and you can for sure notice that. And something else that I and some of the other testers have noticed is the noise and vibration from the drive unit. Some of you eagle-eyed viewers out there might notice that we don't have a SRAM flat top chain on this bike, even though it comes with one. We have experimented just because of how the chain runs through the pulleys. We were thinking like, okay, maybe that flat top isn't allowing the chain to flex and move through that serpentine, pulley system quite as smoothly. We did notice a reduction in the felt vibration through the pedals. It did also quiet it down a little bit, but when you are pedaling this thing more at certain cadences more than others, you kind of notice almost like, I don't know, would you call it like a coffee grinder sound or something? It's kind of like a...
It's like your hand, or it's like taking a piece of wood across corrugated roofing.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting feel, and it's such a shame, because that's the biggest standout thing on the downsides of this bike for me, right? Especially coming from a TQ bike, which is just so quiet, onto this, like what is like is there a stick? Like what's going on?
Right, yeah. Yeah, but that being said, when you're riding right next to someone on a Bosch bike, for example, you can hear the Bosch whine and like that kind of like vibration sound. So like there's different tones on the trail. Like the Bosch whine is higher pitched and it sounds louder almost, but this is a little bit more of a lower vibratory tone, which again is, we think it's worth pointing out. Also, we haven't ridden multiple of these bikes, so it could just be this particular unit being a little louder than some others out there, but still we wanted to bring it to attention and talk about it. So
it's something that if we didn't mention, it would not do the viewers justice.
Yeah, because it could be across all of these bikes. We just don't know. So if you own one of these bikes and you're not finding it very loud or like full of vibration, let us know and let other potential viewers down in the comments know, and that would be awesome. So let's move into like general handling and performance of the bike. Why don't you lead it away?
Yeah, this was the first bike I was able to tick everything off on some of the downhill trails that I had previously not been able to hit. So all in all, this thing for me was just a really good descender. I was surprised it was 150 mil fork. I thought there was more on there, just the way it handles in that steep, chunky stuff.
And how about the 145 out back? Did that surprise you as well?
Yeah, definitely. The whole bike did. It really came alive compared to some of the other ones, and I felt the most confident on this so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Standouts for you?
It corners so good. I think I have always gotten along with the way high pivot bikes corner and the way I weight them through corners. That wheelbase growth just gives you, when you're pressed in, it gives you so much confidence to just like itch a little bit faster.
Corners, corners, corners. Bike rips.
And then aiding in that, if you're hammering a rock garden into that corner, the back wheel just gets up and away and you're not feeling like you're getting hung up, even when you're oversprung, which we've been doing a lot of bike swapping and just quick laps. Riding it oversprung is not this like negative experience. Of course, getting it sprung for your weight amplifies everything.
It really optimizes it, but yeah, it's really interesting where like there are some bikes where if you're off on sag by 1 or 2%, right? Like it really will take a toll on you physically, as well as how the bike performs, right? There's a couple that it will get really rough and abusive. Whereas this bike, you can just feel like, it just feels like I'm oversprung a little bit, but I can still feel the wheel path doing what I want it to do. It's getting out of the way nicely. So, to me, the suspension platform on this bike, I'm really stoked on. I think it's comfortable seating and going downhill.
This is the one I tinkered with the less in terms of just setup suspension-wise.
Really? You just kind of got on and go?
And you can, speaking of tinkering, with the Ride 4 system, it does allow for a lot of adjustments to actually build the bike to your specific terrain or riding style, which I think for consumers, the more adjustments that can be offered, it's gonna fit more people.
Right. But on the flip side, if you do
don't
nothing,
have to, yeah.
you just go riding and you're still going to really enjoy it. So for me, on the descending side, the standout features would be the suspension platform, and kind of in tune with that is how quiet the bike is. Like there are sections where we're repeating these pretty heinous rock gardens, and everyone's standing on the side of the trail and we're getting shots. And like, there's only a couple of bikes that like they would come through and all you hear is the amazing sound of the radial tires just like thumping over stuff. And this was one of those bikes that is just so quiet. There's no rattles, there's no clacking. It's just like eat the terrain up. And I really enjoyed how the suspension performed. As someone who seeks out natural trails, likes hammering through rough stuff, square edge bumps, but also still value a bike that's pretty lively and springy. This bike, I think, blends a lot of characteristics that I really like in the descending aspect.
For sure. So Drew, with
Yes.
all that wonderful stuff that you love about this bike, how does your wallet feel? This is the C90 spec. This is the top spec of this bike you can get, and you do kind of have to pay for it.
Yeah, so I will say, with it being the top spec bike, it is coming in less than some of the other top spec bikes from brands, right? I mean, you've got the S-Workses and you've got the top tier Yetis and Pivots. So while I'm not saying that, this is a bargain, right? Like, it is cheaper for a tip-top bike. There are a number of models that are below this and at a lower price point. Rocky Mountain, I think they're a smaller brand, a boutique brand, you could say. I don't necessarily think that they just have the buying power and volume to maybe command the lower prices that some of the major brands can arm wrestle with these like component suppliers for. That said, you're getting a drive unit that's unique and extremely powerful. You're getting a cool display. You're getting a bike and suspension platform that is really nice. The fit and finish of the bike, nothing has come loose on this bike.
Charge port cover is easy to close.
Charge port cover is easy to close. Like, there's a lot of really nice features about this bike that excite me and make me feel like this is a value product, right? Like, I don't look at this and say like this is like overpriced junk. Like, it's expensive premium product. So yeah, I would say just stepping down in price to a model that suits my budget more would be what I would be looking at. But like, nothing on this screams like rude.
Totally. And I don't think, if you go down in those spec choices, this suspension platform isn't going to be affected as much as others from a lower grade shock with less adjustments.
Correct. Yeah. What do you think? You're the one here who actually saw us to buy your bikes.
Yeah, this, I love how it's got all the factory suspension on it, and I do really like the codes. I haven't switched to the Mavens yet, so big fan of the codes still, and yeah, the part spec on it is really good. Price tag's high, but yeah, the part spec is amazing with the everything. Could use the electronic dropper on it.
I think for the price, yeah, that wouldn't be bad. So Cole, ideal consumer, who do you think this bike's for?
I think the Rocky Mountain does fit a wide variety of people. I think if you are looking for the most peppy, for the most agile bike, there are better bikes for that, but finding that balance of a shorter travel bike that can still hammer through chunk. And if you are someone that isn't super confident in corners, this bike is gonna bring a lot of that confidence back to you.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, for me, thinking about the consumer traveling on a trip or having some sort of a problem, again, I feel like these are pretty reliable. We haven't had any issues in a number of Rocky Mountains that we've tested. So, you just gotta think about like, okay, any shop that sells an e-bike will probably be able to help you out with a Bosch or help you out with a Shimano. You're going to be limited to finding a Rocky dealer on the road should something go wrong. But again, we haven't had problems with these like we have with some other units, so maybe that's something I'm just thinking about and I don't need to. The sound and vibration is something that I do think about. Would it be a deal breaker for you based on how the rest of the bike rides?
No, not on this bike.
So it's something that you would put up with for how good it is elsewhere?
Definitely.
Yourself?
That is my deal breaker. I think
it is a deal breaker for you.
I don't think, having experienced the other side, I don't know if I could live with that day in and day out.
Okay.
It is amazing going down, and it truly is, but there's other bikes that are just as good, almost just as good, but are a much more quiet and kind of fade to the back experience for me.
Sean in the Peanut Gallery says it would not stop him, and he optimistically thinks could just be a one-off issue on our motor. So for me personally, I don't think it would stop me from wanting to keep this bike in the quiver, because it really does do very, very well in a lot of the terrain I like. That is something that, you know, I think we do need to talk about and address though, but we did.
That's my only negative.
Yeah.
That's the only negative I have.
Yeah, correct. I think other than that, the bike is it is pretty playful on the ground cornering. It pops well. It's super fun to just manual and tinker around with. But like above all, when you really just let that thing eat, like many of our testers have said, oh wow, that wasn't in the enduro category. Like I can't believe that only had 145 out back. So if you like a comfortable bike that is going to give you like a smooth feel over chunk, this thing does a really good job. So there you have it, folks. That is the Rocky Mountain Instinct. Stay tuned as we work our way through the rest of the bikes before the grand finale, and you'll see where this stacks up against the other 12 bikes in the shootout. Thanks again to our sponsors for making this series happen. And of course, thanks to you guys for watching, leaving comments, and engaging down below. See you soon.